Okay, so up until now, a lot of you are probably thinking a lot of this doesn't apply to me. I'm not going to do this. This is not making shots. So I'm going to get to the easy part, the actual setup for the shot maker to drip into a tank. Starting out, I don't want to go with a giant 40-gallon tank like some of these guys. There's a video that's really in particular in my mind on YouTube where the guy's got a white pickup truck in the background, and he's got a better shot maker, and he's got a big, large 40-gallon tank of Freon ready to kill all of his pets. I have 6 cats, 2 dogs, and 2 daughters. I don't need coolant laying around in my garage, and I wanted something smaller. I mean, I made a year's worth of shot in a few days, and I don't need to dedicate my whole garage, and neither do you. So I'm going to just show you my setup here. What this is this is just a regular hand cart. You can buy it wherever. I'm a big fan of Harbor Freight. I got this for 35 bucks. I mean, I bought the same one for 75 years ago. What I found with these, though, is because the bottom of this is just a pan of sheet metal with 4 wheels screwed to the bottom. When you fill this up with 4 gallons of water at 8 pounds a gallon, and then 20 pounds of lead here and this and that, you got about like 80 pounds of shit on the top of this cart. When you push against this cart, it was like a ship in the night. You couldn't have a water level that was up here maintained if this thing was the way it was from the factory. It would just sway and bob in the wind. If you sneezed, it would be wiggling. So what I did was I just took some conduit and I welded it from the sides of the frame to the heads of the bolts of the casters underneath. And by doing that, I'm securing the frame to the wheels. This sucker is rock solid. It don't move at all. Again, my love with discarded propane bottles. I took a propane bottle and I cut it off as flush as I could. You can see here's the seams. I got about 4 inches past the bottom seam. And I welded it into the cart. All I did was I just took this, turned it upside down in the cart, and I drew a circle around the edge in the cart, and then I very carefully just took a die grinder and I ground that circle out. Here's the old plate from that tank. I set this in here. Being sheet metal can be a bitch to weld because it's thin. I put about 6 critical welds, and then I put some real heavy-duty sealer. It wasn't meant for this. It took about a month to dry. But now what I've got is I've got a watertight area, and all of these seams here, I took the bolts out, put the glue in before the bolts were in, glued the bolts in, and glued the seams in. So this is going to stay watertight. And eventually I'm going to put some overflow drains in it. But for now, it's working really good. When using water to cast, you have to heat your water up. If you let hot shot fall into cold water, it makes steel wool. So what I've found is between 131 degrees and 135 degrees you can cast. So that little Proctor Silex heater I've got, you can see the little drain plug on there, will fit tightly up in there. And it doesn't even burn the paint off because it was painted before I had thought about this. So by putting that little Proctor Silex heater under there, I use hot tap water. The hot tap water comes out nearly as hot as I need, but pouring it into this cold cart, you've got to get it back up to temperature. So I turn this bottom heater on, and I let it cook until the water temperature gets back up to about 130 degrees. And what I did was I got I got this at Aldi's. It was $9. Usually like 25 bucks. And I just wired it over here, and I put it through my daughter's clothespin project. And just by drilling 2 holes in the top of it like that, it allows the probe to hang out in there. And in the bottom where the valve was for the propane bottle, I just put a plug. You can see some shot sitting down in there. And that allows me to watch that temperature. So what I did was I got myself some mineral water because I was told, some drinking water because I was told tap water doesn't work for it. So this is a 4-gallon jug, And what do you know? This thing is almost exactly 4 gallons. So I've got my nice container. I fill that bottle up in the kitchen with hot water. I pour it in here. It's almost the right temperature. Turn my little stove on. Wait until my temperature comes up. And on the right, you can see 134, and it's at 67 because we're just room temperature right now. And this will beep when your water gets hot enough. And then you can just turn this thing off. Once you start making shot, the water will maintain its own temperature perfectly. One of the things I was worried about is that this propane tank is now part of the cart. It's welded in. I'm figuring, damn, that cart is going to dissipate the heat from that propane tank, and this water's going to cool off, and I'm going to have to keep that heater on. Not at all. Once you get it up to temperature, you turn that thing off, and the lead going into the water does the rest. I went on an 8-hour spree, 8 hours straight of casting lead, and that water temperature needed to be adjusted maybe a few degrees by dumping a little cold water into it. And here's what I do. Hang your water jug off the side somewhere with your turkey baster. For me, because I'm too lazy to finish this project, I never put a drain on here. So any excess water that develops around here because of the splash over, I just suck up and I blast down into the bottom of the tank. And a quarter of a gallon cools this thing off a few degrees, and that's about the only adjustments I've needed for temperature. It is amazing how well water will maintain its temperature. The reason I said in the original video I tried everything, I didn't try everything. I tried Downy, I tried laundry detergent, I tried diesel fuel. None of them worked, and I had this big disgusting mess. And I'm not going to put antifreeze in my garage. I have my 2 beautiful Pomeranians that I'm not going to risk them. Not to mention, as an auto mechanic, I am tired of having slimy fucking antifreeze on my hands. And then you got to spend 3 days washing it off. So yes, there's a guy out there that was making shot with diesel that was probably better than mine. But by such a slight degree, it wasn't even worth it. And I bet you if I got a picture of his shot close up, it's no better. So I'm telling you guys, water. Then all you have to do is dry it on a flat blanket. There's my blanket laying over my welder. You lay it out in the driveway. You spread your shot out. Sometimes I'll hit it with my hot air blower, my hot gun, and warm the lead up. And within 15 minutes, the lead's dry. Throw it in a bucket with some graphite. And I'll show you the graphite I'm using. I got this at a garage sale for free. The guy felt bad for me, I don't know why, and gave it to me. Don't ask me to pronounce this, but this is a very black graphite. It's not like that silver shit that you get for your lock and keys, because that doesn't, I wanted my shot to look right and function right. Yeah, you can use any graphite, but it don't look like the stuff you bought from Lawrence or Eagle. When you put this stuff in there, it's pitch black. And it makes your shot look like factory. So you can get this online. It won't look the same because this is an old jug, but this is about $15 on Amazon for a pound. And it's also what I use for parting my sand casting. Up here is my sand casting boxes that I use to make that jack that I had showed you. You put this into a sock and you shake it over half of your mold. And I did that out of the advice from the guy that gave me it at a garage sale. And I went online recently after years of using it as casting, and one of the first things they tell you, it's used as a parting dust. So the other thing I did was, this is a baking pan, and it's got a lip on it, and I cut it out, and I welded it between the 2 halves of the cart. And the reason that this is critical is because when this is full of lead and water, it's going to cause that top shelf on this cart to bow. And if it starts bowing down, that critical distance that you've so worked for to maintain the lip between your shot maker and your water, it's going to just allow this thing to start sagging down, even if it's 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Not to mention, I wanted the stability. This is in a shitty-ass $35 cart, and it's rock solid because I put a brace in the middle and because I put those braces on the bottom. That's totally critical. The other thing is this was not bought for this project at all. This is bought because I like to cast my own fishing weights and I like to cast my own bullets. And so I saw from another person on YouTube, he was doing this. And yes, indeed, it works good. You fill this up, now you've got a heated reservoir. Every time you drop a cold ingot in here, it's like when you drop fries into the oil. Temperature goes down, you got to wait for it to come back up. What I have found in reality is this is absolutely not necessary, but having it is a nice luxury because it does allow me to have more flexibility. So what I do to maintain my temperature here is when this thing is just starting to come up a little too hot, because your temperature does actually fluctuate here and there, I can go ahead and set an ingot in here, or if it's very hot, put the ingot in all the way, cool that down. When I find that this may be a little bit slow because I have a temperature dip, I go ahead, hit my valve, lead comes out, runs down the trough, and yes, this trough does get a little cold, and so occasionally I have to take my soapstone tool. This is your soapstone. Works really good. I just put it in here, and whatever is clumping up slides right out. And I do chalk that before I start, and it definitely helps.